We are on Daf. It is cold in here. Whew. We are on Daf. You down on base. Maybe it's a little bit outside the line of Yevamos or a Mishnah or two. Maybe you get Medina Sayam, somebody who brings a get from Chutz La'aretz. It says the get was signed and was written and signed in front of me. Lo Yisla, you should not marry the woman who is divorcing. In other words, he's just a shaliach, but he shouldn't marry this woman because obviously the suspicion is if he marries her, then he brought the get because he had an agenda and maybe he was lying, right? Now, what if he says mace? He says the husband of this woman died, right? Or haraktiv, I killed her husband. Oh, haragnu, we killed his husband. So tinaseish, he might not marry this woman, for obvious reasons, right? She can get married, but he may not marry her. Okay? That doesn't matter because by a woman who's an aguna, we're meiko. And she would be an aguna if not for this guy coming and saying I killed him. No, not just a woman. And so a woman could say that, right? A woman could say that, but also an outsider could say it as well. A woman, right? That's a question whether at the end of you. So, Rabbi Yehuda Meharaktiv lo tidasei. If he says I killed him, the woman should not get married at all. Haragnu, if they say he said we killed him, though I was part of a group which killed him, a chabura. And then the woman can get married, and the Gemara is going to discuss the difference. Mao Nema. So when it says, he's actually, the Gemara is discussing actually another case. A case called, tie back into our Mishnah. There's a case of a person married off his daughter. A guy comes and says, I married off my daughter, but I don't remember to whom. Doesn't remember which one. So a guy comes and says, I'm the one. I married your daughter. So, obviously, they got away with a very cheap wedding. We didn't remember who the chosn was. So, Mao... So, Mao Neman. So, when the guy goes said, I'm the chosn, to what extent is he believed? Shmuel Ma Neman Litan Get. It's believed to give a get. We don't believe him to the extent that we allow him to live with her. Because we say maybe he's lying. He just found a beautiful girl. And he wants to live with her, so therefore we don't allow him to live with her. We allow him to give her a get, and then somebody else can live with her. Because we don't believe that his Yetzirah is so great that he's going to go lie, and even though he has no right afterwards to live with this woman, right? So therefore, if he's willing to come and say, I married her, and give a get, then we believe he must be telling the truth. Rav said he actually is believed to marry her. In other words, he's believed to the extent he may live with her. Rabbi Yochanan Neman Lichnos. In fact, that's correct. He's believed to live with her. We cannot extrapolate from here to anywhere else. What's the other thing which we cannot learn out from here? Maybe it's the case of Achas Mistoisai Macharti. The case where a guy says, I sold... Sometimes he learns with Yitzchak Yupert, but I don't see him there right now. So it says maybe it's this case, Achas Mistosai Mecharti, one of my fields I sold, and I don't know to whom I sold it. And a guy comes and says, I'm the one who bought it. Lo kolimenu. He's not believed in that case. Well, if that's the case, which you're saying that we can't extrapolate, that in that case the guy is not believed, that's true also by marriage. If a guy says, I do not know which of my daughters I married off, I married off my daughter, but we don't know which one. Guy comes and says, I married her, lo kol imenu. He doesn't have the right to do so. Now, this Gemara is a little cryptic to read. Baz explains it very nicely. Baz says, if I say that I saw one of my fields, but I don't know which one, and you come and say I bought it, and it's this one, you're not believed. Why? Why aren't you believed? No. You're right, but that's not the primary reason, but rather, what's the raya? How do you know that this is being a raya that was this field? However, if the guy says, I sold this field, I don't know to whom I sold it, then the guy comes and says, I'm the guy, he's believed. Even in Choshen Mishpat. Why is that? Because no longer Motzim Chavero. Because the guy concedes it's not his field. He knows for sure he sold it. He's Moido, Das Badin, it's not his field anymore. So saying is true by Kiddushin. If the guy says, I married off this daughter, I don't remember to whom I married her off, then the guy comes and says, I'm going to marry her, you can believe him. Like Rav said. But if the father said, I married off one of my daughters, I don't know which one, and then a guy comes and says, I'm the guy, and it was this daughter, so he's not believed, because that's also a motiv chaver lavaraya, because it also follows the pitzels didimominus. So as I was saying, what is the case which we're trying to preclude, which in Kiddushin is believed, and in Mominus is not believed? There is no such case. The cases are precisely parallel. When it's a case where it's a motiv chaver lavaraya, because we don't know which field or which daughter, then he's not believed. In case it's not a Motzim Chaver Lavrai, because we know which daughter or which field, but we don't know who the guy is, then he is believed. So the Gemara answers the kasha. The Gemara does not know when he says, when Rabbi Yochanan said, we can't extrapolate from this to elsewhere, we don't know what the elsewhere was that Rabbi Yochanan was referring to. Well, but the process of acquisition is the same. Bear in mind, as a matter of fact, it's even more similar because we're talking about a father selling off his daughter. We're talking about obviously a daughter who's not selling off herself, but the father is selling her off. Okay? Okay, it says when Mastizo pleak out of the Rav. Now, the reason why all this is brought down here, because it seems the Rav Mishnah argues on Rav's statement. Because it says in Rav Mishnah, maybe you gave Medina Sayam, top of Tesfot out, somebody brings a get from Chutz La'aretz, it says it was written and signed in front of me, Lo Yisasisha is not allowed to marry the woman. Why? Why not? If Rav says, in the case of Kiddushin, that the guy is allowed to say, believed to say, I married your daughter, and we let him live with the daughter, so why here can't we believe it is again and let him live with the woman after the get is delivered? Says much not a question. There, and now I'm going to explain this according to the way the Ritbaz here in the bottom quotes the Ran and Kiddushin. I looked up the Ran. The way the Ran explains is very nice. Not everybody agrees with this Ran, but it's a nice explanation. And the Ran's a Rishon, so he gets precedence. There, in the case of our Gemara Mishnah, meaning Taman and Yerushalmi means here, right? Case of our Mishnah, everybody knows she was married to somebody else. Bifnei Hakol means she was called to be she's not just by everybody, but she was told to be just to somebody else. So therefore, you're trying to get her out of her because Kol being an Eish to somebody, we don't believe you to the extent that we allow you to marry her. But here, by the case of the father and the daughter, nobody knows who this girl was married to, except two people who are not here. The two Adim. And were they here, they would tell us who the person was. But maybe when the two guys come, they'll say, this guy Taka was the guy who married her. In other words, there, in the case where he's coming testifying again, he's going against it's a known case where a woman's married to somebody else. Everybody knows a woman's married to somebody else. He's not believed to say she's divorced and then marry her himself. But in a case where nobody knows who the girl was married to, and she may well have been married to this guy. so then he has the right in that case, so it's not going against any known chazak of Eish, but on the contrary, he may well be in accordance to the chazak of Eish, there he has the right to actually go and marry her. Okay? So it's not comparable to the cases. Let's try it another way around. Masnisa pliga al Shmuel. Our Mishnah's on this Mishnah argues on Shmuel. What did Shmuel say? Shmuel said, if a guy if a guy says, I married your daughter, right? Again, the father says, I married off my daughter, I don't know to whom. Somebody comes along and says, I marry your daughter. So Shmuel said he's believed if he's willing to give a get. He's not believed if he says he wants to live with her as husband and wife. Because if he wants to live with her again, it indicates too much that he's doing it for taiva reasons, for his lust, he has to be willing to give a get. So the following Mishnah seems to argue on Shmuel. It says, if two guys come along, right? Same father, the idiot, doesn't know to be married off his daughter, right? So two guys come and say, each one says, I married her, right? So they both give a get. Says the Gemara, if they want, one of them can give a get, and the other one can marry her. So we see here quite clearly that a guy who says Aniki Dashtia can marry the girl. And Shmuel said before, if a guy says I married her, he can't actually live with her, he has to give her a get. So it's a contradiction. Now what does Shmuel do in this case? So Pasala Shmuel will resolve it when he says, when the father says, we're talking about a case where actually we've limited the sphere. It's not that the father has no idea till he married her. He knows that he married her to one of these guys. And therefore, since he knows he married her to one of these guys, so therefore, in that case, the chances are much diminished. Actually, if one is willing to give a get, then we let the other one live with her. Okay? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Zira and Rabbi Yasser Rabbi Yochanan said, Kadam echad mehem v'kines. Now, if one of them, before the other one gives a get, took her, right? Again, in cases the father says, I married her to one of these two. One of them immediately comes and takes her, or lives with her. So, the next word is a very big mistake. Motzim miyadu, we make him divorce her. It says, Ein motzim miyadu, you don't make him divorce her. It's a mistake. You do take him, you make him divorce her. Why? Harda da'amar, this is true, but shezel me'aniki dashtia, v'zel me'aniki dashtia. When each one says, I married her, v'karem echamen v'konas. Now one of them marries her first. Why? Because he was not allowed to. We have no proof he's telling the truth. Each one is telling the same story. So he was not allowed to. If he went down and did it, we make him get divorced because he went against the Chazal's takana. But let's say one of them came along and said, I married her, and the other guy was not yet along to say, I married her as well. He said, I married her, because and he took her. And then only afterwards the second guy came and said, I married her as well. The second guy does not have the capacity to undermine the first marriage. So again, where they both came simultaneously, then neither one can marry her until one is willing to give a get. Where they came in succession, since the first guy, when he married her, he was the only suitor around. So there, the fact that the other guy comes later on doesn't make required to get a divorce.
The first guy came, and there is no other second guy. He's not supposed to marry. He's supposed to.
No, Shmuel agreed. If the father said it's to one of these two I married her, then in that case he's allowed to marry her. Right? Rabbi Yochanan said, Rav said, even if we have no idea to we married her, it was still the first guy to come along is allowed to marry her. But Shmuel said, at least in that case where he said I married her, it's one of two people, there he's allowed to marry her. Okay?
Is there a time frame here after succession?
I don't know if there's a time frame. I don't know. I doubt it. Minute? Yeah, I know. As long as it takes for the first guy to marry her. Driving to Las Vegas and back. Okay, it says where further. We have Bryce which says this. So once the first guy married her, another guy came over and said, Aniki Dashia, I married her. Lo kol manu, he doesn't have the right to do so. Okay. Says Raktiv. Now, in the case, game act the Mishnah, a guy says, I killed him. So he's not believed, right? He can't marry her. Manavshach. Why? No matter what, how can we believe him? Katle, if he actually killed the husband, he suspected on the matter, Lo donav lo mido, he may not judge it, nor may he testify in this matter. Lo katle, if he didn't kill him, b'chaim, who's still alive, so then he certainly can't marry the wife. So therefore, he's not allowed to marry her. However, if he says haragnu, if he says we killed him, then here the Gillian Prime Church to be said in me'ata me'atad katle. Me'atad means literally to plan. So that means when a person says we killed him, it doesn't mean each one of us killed him. What it means is that we are involved in planning his death. We went through the motions. So in that case, Seila Acherim, she can marry other people, the low, but not the person himself. Okay? So they said to Rabbi Yehuda, Maise, Beliste Mechos, the Maise, a certain bandit. Shnikvas B'Keisarin, he was caught, taken captive in a city called Keisarim, Shebekapulkia, in the country called Kapulkia. Im Shu Yotzei Liharag, as he was going out to be killed, Armalan, he said to the rabbis, Suva Amru, go and say Liishto Shel Shimon ben Kahana, so the wife of Shimon Kahana, Sharaktiv, and I killed him because he saw Lud on his way into Lud. Okay, so his wife should be mutter. This my episode came for Chachamim, the Kimos Dorav, and they sustain what he said. So even if a guy says I killed him, there are times when he's believed. If you can tell he's telling the truth, so in that case he's believed. Rabbi said, even in that case it wasn't believed. Misham Raya, from there to prove, the only reason why this ban was believed is because Itaka did not say Haraktiv, which according to Rabbi Yehuda would now allow us to believe him, because he's a Russia, but rather he only was believed if he said Agnu, we plotted, not that I actually murdered him. Okay?
It's not because he's a Russian.
I'm a chosher al-Odor. A suspect.
I'll give you the Dora. I'll leave that out.
Well, first of all, it's speak about getting that bonus.
Yeah, true.
But
every case of Palgini Dora is not really Palgini Dora. It's always Palgini Dora.
Okay, fine. But I don't know if that's true. But anyway, maybe the Yerushalmi doesn't hold him that. It's a good point you're raising. I don't know why. No, it's not the Yerushalmi doesn't hold of it. It's Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of it. Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda's the one who says Haraktiv lo tinaseh ishto. So Rabbi Yehuda Mishnah. Tanakama holds Shitaka can't get married, just not to him. What?
Why? So what is the why? So what is the? I guess I don't understand the rationale of Bermuda. It doesn't say that anywhere that we don't believe in because he's an evil man.
He did. It said, "Kat la mana aktiv mana shokat le yachoshel adavar lo donav lo mido." If he actually killed him, what? But you see that he says if he killed him, if he actually did kill him, then he's a suspect on the matter. He can't testify. It's catch-22. If you're a murderer, you can't testify in murder. That's what he's saying. It's like Pagina Dibura, but it's not. Obviously, Rabbi doesn't know. That we split it in half. We believe that the guy's dead, but not that he killed him.
Oh, I see.
But I guess Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold of that. He doesn't hold of. That's a good point. He comes in the midst, he kills the guy. The question is whether we believe him, so that the wife can get remarried. So the answer is we do, but not vis-a-vis himself. No, the wife can marry somebody else. And Rabbi Yehuda says even vis-a-vis somebody else, we don't believe him. Unless he says a term which we can understand to mean not that he literally killed him, but he was involved in plotting the murder in some ancillary role. Okay? Now, similarly, if a chacham, a rabbi, forbade a woman who made a neder, al-bala, on her husband, or she made some sort of oath that she made, or vow she may not live with her husband anymore. So she went to the chacham to see if he can be matir neder for her, and the chacham cannot be matir neder for her. So in that case, even though she's got to get divorced, obviously he can't marry her, because that looks like the reason why he wasn't matir neder is because he wanted her, right? However, if this girl repudiated marriage because she got married when she was a minor, or she chalitza in front of this guy, he said, and then he's allowed to marry her. Why? Because when this chacham is part of a court, the Gemara is going to explain, we don't assume that he changed the proper way of pasking for the purpose of marrying this girl. Also, if at the time that this episode occurred, right, that he asked her, this woman, or at the time that well, I guess that's the only circumstance mentioned in Mishnah. So if they had women, if they had wives at that time already, umesu, and then the wives died, mutasi saying they're allowed to marry this woman who, at the time, they said they couldn't find an opening for an neder. Why? Because the assumption is they weren't planning that far ahead, that when their wives kick the bucket, they're going to marry this girl. So therefore, we allow them to marry her when the time comes. Also, if this girl, after she had to get divorced from her husband because of her nedarim, if she went to marry somebody else in the middle, and then became widows, and then his guys were divorced the second time, then Mutar saying they're allowed to marry the judge who was not matir the first time, because we assume they didn't have a cheshbon, they didn't make a reckoning to wait until she gets remarried and divorced again. And also all these women who the chacham cannot be matir neder are permitted to the sons and brothers of the chacham who cannot be matir neder. We don't say he had a mind to put her in line for his son or brother. Okay? If a chacham, a wise man, who sustained the vow of a woman against her husband, he said he should not marry her, because then I would say, Marisain, that this wedding he intended originally to accomplish, that should be forbidden her husband and he would marry her. If, however, she did in front of him when he was sitting in a court, repudiating the marriage contracted by her sister or brother for her when she was a minor, or shechotza chalitza in front of him, he said him, then he's allowed to marry her. Based in because he's part, then that chacham was part of a court. Why is that? In that case, where he really to have had such a taiva for her, he would have had to convince his two fellow judges to go along with his trick, his lie. And obviously, it's very difficult to do that.
Here, the woman is actually doing the action. She's doing the
right.
Well, in the other case, it was the chacham who refused to matir the neder.
It's a good chiluk. The difference between the chacham doing it. It's good. I don't know why they weren't talking about this. Good point. Okay. Talmud, we learned over there. Hamafkid pero say to chavero. Somebody leaves fruit by his friend. Even if the fruit is about to get lost, he may not touch them. And this is why this case brought down here. You can sell the fruit in front of the basin, in order that it shouldn't go rotten, and this way you're going to be able to be Meshav Aveda give something back to the owner because you'll have something which didn't go rotten instead. That was the case we had in the Bowser, China ben Doisa, that he grew all those goats from something which he found which had been lost. He didn't want the owner to have lost in the investment, whatever it was. I think it was eggs. Okay, says the Gemara. Rabbi Yaakov Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Yochanan, Halok Rav Shimon Gamliel. Let's say Gamliel that if the fruit is getting rotten, so you're allowed to sell in front of Beis Din. My Abadamim, what will be with the money? Rabbi Omer Machlokas Rabbi Akiva Rabbi Tarfa. Rabbi says it was a Machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Akiva, sorry, and Rabbi Tarfa, that the money which comes from the sale, Rabbi Akiva says you buy I don't know if you have to buy something, you invest with them. You invest with that money, you become a shomer socher on that. In other words, if you have an Aveda which is about to get lost, so which is about to get lost to the owner, you take the money, you invest, and become a shomer socher on the funds, and you try and make money for the guy. Eventually, you'll get paid for whatever, after you put it on his behalf, assuming you made money for him. Whereas Rabbi Tarfon holds, no, you just shouldn't touch the money. Leave the money alone until the guy comes back. You don't invest it. Okay? Now, what if this is Aveda, the guy is gone, we don't know what to do with it. So, Beis Din, of course, it's sold for the Beis Din. But Beis Din themselves may not buy the items. Why may Beis Din not buy the items? Right, because they might undercut the price in order to allow them to buy these items, right? It says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva Omer, Rabbi Akiva asked a question like this, Rabbi Akiva Berebi. I'm still not sure if Rabbi Akiva actually asked the question. Oh, yes, so the Korban says Rabbi Akiva here is an Amora. That makes it easier. See that? Rabbi Akiva Shem Amora? I don't think... Because he's quoting another Amora here, so it must be Rabbi Akiva and Amora. That's a fascinating concept. I don't remember ever seeing Rabbi Akiva and Amora anywhere else. The Rogachover, they say, discovered that the Yerushalmi on Kochim, which was put out in the 1910s, was a forgery. Because he said the guy was so careful, the guy's name was Friedlander, the guy was so careful in doing the forgery, he didn't put in the name of any Amora which doesn't appear anywhere else in Shas. And the Rogachover said there's no Masech in Shas which doesn't include at least one Amora or Tana which doesn't appear anywhere else in Shas. Yeah. Yes. Obviously not everybody heard it though.
That's how you knew it was a forgery.
Yeah. Only the Rogachover can know that. I just saw it today on our email list that the Rogachover said about the Meshech Chochmah before he died. He says, no, after he died, when he was eulogizing him, he said, it's too bad. He was just figuring out how to learn, and then he went ahead and died. So that's the Rogachover. So anyway, so that Rabbi Akiva, that's right, Rabbi Akiva, the Amora, said, Rabbi Yechiva, Rabbi Shabsai, ne Rabbi Yechiva, Rabbi Shabsai, Makshir, or rather, he said, Rabbi Yechiva, Shabsai, Makshir, who asked like this. Very interesting, very good question. You said, if the girl did miyun or chalitza in front of this dayan, you say, and I'm still allowed to marry him, because part of the Beis Din. And he's not going to convince the other guys to lie, right? Or to do miscarriage of justice on his behalf. But here you say that when they sell an Aveda, right, for auction, then they can't, the members of the Beis Din can't buy it. Why not? If the integrity of Beis Din is above reproach, So it should be above reproach in all cases. Says more, it's not, no, it's not the integrity of basis above reproach. Nobody's above reproach. Rather, I'm Rav Yossi, when they buy stuff at auction, so they can divvy up the spoils 3 ways, right? Whatever they save, whatever they make. But here, in the case of Miln, two other people are not going to sin, so the other guy can get his taiva. Or if we could divide her up, we would all sin together. But we can't do that, so therefore not going to sin for the other guy. Okay? So again, we said, any of these chachamim or if they had wives who died, they're allowed to marry this girl who's neither they weren't matir or otherwise they facilitated her divorce. Says it's only if their wives die, but not if they poison them. No, it doesn't say that here. But close. Right, these guys should love, but if they divorce their wives, they can't marry this girl. Why? Because obviously then we say, why did they divorce their wives? Because this girl was prettier. Okay? It's interesting. You see, even at that time, people did not marry 2 wives. Yeah, otherwise, when they're just marrying other wives, it's not given us an option. Obviously, it's already at the time not marrying 2 wives was out of favor. Okay, says more. Again, we'll quote from Mishnah, all of these women, they married somebody else. And this other person, they became widows or were divorced. They're allowed to go back and marry the dying before whom they had the original course. A person doesn't sin, this is more explaining, a person does not sin in anticipation of some future event after the woman is married and divorced again. It says more also, or made it to the sons and brothers of the justices or of the Talmidei Chachamim. Person does not miscarry justice just for the purpose of his son having somebody to marry or his brother having somebody to marry. That's not a purpose. Okay? If you have 2 brothers, 2 of them married to 2 sisters. And the 2 married to the 2 sisters die. So the 2 sisters get chalitza and not evil. If, however, the 2 brothers married these 2 sisters, then what? Yotziu. They have to divorce them. They can still keep them. They have to divorce them anyway. Now, again, we have 2 brothers out of 4 married to 2 sisters, and then those two brothers married to 2 sisters dying. Right? So now the question is what the other 2 brothers can do. So the Pasha says that, as our Mishnah said, according to Beis Hillel, they can't do chalitza and not yibum, and they can't marry these girls. And even if they did marry them, but they can't keep them. Why is that? One is going to explain. As for ilu, first one is going to ask a question. Ilu arba achim shtei ne'shtaim and the suim shtei nochios. If you have 4 men, 2 of them are married to 2 women who are not related to each other. Shemen and misyabos, can the 2 die? Can't they be misyabos to each other? So why here not? So it says a very interesting thing. Shani yochel sheish bo isri achiyos. Here it's different because there's this isra of sisters as well. Now, the isra of sisters is called in the parlance achos zikukoso. Whereas if you are zakuk to a woman, at the same time you have she has a sister, that sister is also to you. To Rabbanan, of course, because zika's nothing. It's not as if you were married to a woman and you're also her sister, because you're never married to this woman. But achos kukasus and zika is somewhat of a connection. So achos kukasus and this is Rabbanan. So here, in this case over here, since it's Nisr B'Achio, since they're sisters to each other, and they were both fell before it to evil, so therefore it's certainly the same, similar to Achos Kukaso, and that's the problem over here. So that's why, if that's the case, they shouldn't require chalitza either. If they're forbidden because they're 2 sisters simultaneously under Zika, so then they shouldn't even require a chalitza. right? Around the sign of recites that they Zika, since their prohibitions through Zika. And there's no clear-cut Doraisa, Bruos euphemism for Doraisa. There's no clear-cut is in the Torah itself, so therefore you can't ask for Rabbanan. Okay? Now, I'm sorry, you can't ask for Rabbanan, but you can't say that it requires neither Chalitza or Yibum, it has to have Chalitza. Okay? So, I hope I'm making this clear. You have two sisters who are zakuk to it once. You can't do Yibum on either of them. The Raisi can. Why not? Do Yibum on one of them. Obviously can't be married to two sisters. Or each brother do Yibum on one, because these two sisters were married to two separate brothers. But Midrabanan we disallow this. Okay? Says we're Tam on we learned over there, top of Tesayin with Aleph. Shomer Siyav Shakit Shoachiv. Okay, back to the charts. Yeah, because Zika looks like marriage. Okay, this is the case. Rachel and her sisters. Can you see Mr. Zuger? Rachel and her sisters. Rachel and married two brothers. Oh, I shouldn't say that. This is kind of a tragic case. Very tragic. Fortunately, it's fiction. Rachel and Leah were two sisters. Rachel married Reuben. Leah did kiddushin to Shimon, his brother, but not nisuin. They never did a chuppah, just kiddushin. Then Reuben and Shimon dropped dead. Oh, just Reuben dropped dead. Sorry, just Reuben. Heavy black line. Just Reuben dropped dead. So now, what's Shimon's status? Now, bear in mind, Levi, the third brother, could always be Miyabim Rachel, but no, that will not do in this case. Shomer Yovam shekidesh achiv es achosa. You have a Shomer Yovam, which happened, and before, and the brother did kiddushin. Mishum Rabbi Levi say Amru, according to the name Rabbi Levi say, they said, Omri lo, we say to Shimon, Havtain, wait, Achiyasa Maisa. You can't finish your marriage to Leah until we see what Levi does with Rachel. Right? Because if Levi does Yimar Chalitza to Rachel, then you're okay. You continue with your wife. Because two brothers can be married to two sisters. But in the meantime, you can't do anything. Because right now you're in limbo. Because you haven't fully married your wife, and she's a veil, Rachel, her sister, is a skuka to you. Now, bear in mind it's Old Rabbanan, because the rights of Kiddushin is a marriage, right? But it's also a Marasayan issue. You're not fully married to her. You never did chuppah, you only did Kiddushin. Okay? So, oh yeah, you give Leah a get. Not only that, we're going to force to give again under certain circumstances. That's the tragedy of it all. Says so if Levi did Chalitza or did Yehuman Rachel, so then Yichnos, then Shimon can consummate his marriage with Leah. However, Mesai Yovam, what if Levi kicked the bucket? So then Ayova Moitzitz Ishto, Shimon's got to divorce his quasi-wife Leah, and what's he got to do? He's got to do no. The Asation on Chalitza's got to do Chalitza on Rachel. Catch 22. He can't stay married to Leah because he wasn't fully married to her. Rachel might take precedence. But on the other hand, but he was already married somewhat to Leah. So Rachel is his wife's sister, and his wife is still alive. True, he divorced her, but she's still alive. So therefore, he can't marry Rachel either. So therefore, what does he have to do? Has to get on his own wife and a chalitza on his brother's wife.
And then there's no progeny altogether.
Right. Everybody lives miserably ever after. That's life. What? Unless he arranges for Rachel to be assassinated. Because you're allowed to marry your deceased wife's sister. Okay? Okay? There might be an option in this case, you never know. Says now, Lamar, it only says here, as I just told you, if Rachel dies, Mutter Bishto, he's allowed to finish his marriage to Leah. But it doesn't say Avomesa Ishto, but the inference is, even if his wife dies, Asa Rivinto, we still can't do Yibum on Rachel. Why is that? Because Rachel was Achos Ishto at one point, and that never fell off, right? So, not Achos' full wife, but Achos' Mikudesh's wife. Rabbi Eliyahu said two different Rabbi Lezer's, all Rabbi Lezer's opinion. And they're more humane about this, I guess one could say, if one may use that language. They say, Mesi Yevimto, if Rachel dies, obviously Mutter Bishta is allowed to consummate his marriage with Leah. And even the other way around. Mesa Ishto, if his wife dies, Mutter Ishto is allowed to Yibum to the Yevama. No. Before we said Mesa Ishto also Yevimto. Why? Before we said Mesa Ishto also Yevimto, because we said since he wasn't his wife, since at the time that the Zika occurred, he was married to his wife. So then he never actually had Zika. Never actually had Zika. She remains an Eishasach, and therefore it's also. That's what it's saying. Now we're saying that the Rabbi Yochanan's argument is saying that if Leah dies, so then Rachel is no worse than if Leah dies before he did Yibum Chalitza to Rachel, then Rachel is permitted to. Why? Because they say a general principle. Kol davar shubo machmaz hagoyrim, anything which comes because of a cause, right? Anytime you have a problem which is causing before he did Chalitza to Rachel, then he actually can conceivably do Yibum to Rachel instead. Okay? The Rabbi Lezer says, Afilu batal hagoyrim, even if the cause goes away, ha'isur koimo, the isur remains in place. Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina boikun Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan asked for Rabbi Yochanan. Here he said, if Rachel died, he can have consummate his marriage with Leah, right? And Mesa Ishto, and according to Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, Mesa Ishto, if Leah dies, Mutter B'Yevimto, he's allowed to marry his to do Yibum on Rachel, right? If Leah dies, right? However, what about our Mishnah? Here we don't say that. In our Mishnah it says that if you have two sisters who fall before you for Yibum, you must do Chalitza, you can't do Yibum. So if that's the case, it's as if he had two sisters before him for Yibum. It's worse! He had one sister who he was married to another sister for Yibum. So its question is, how could he ever marry Rachel under any circumstance? Rachel is either Achos Kukaso, right, the sister of his Kuka. In this case, even worse than that. It's Achos Ishto. So how could he ever marry Rachel? That's the worst question. So it says, Ma'ar Malaysia said, Any of that Tam Achis Mayim. Says, I don't know what our Mishnah's reason is. I don't like our Mishnah. Boo Mishnah. Why is that? Because our Mishnah comes up with this prohibition of Achos Kukaso. I'm not at all clear, says Rabbi Yochanan, why this should be the case. I don't know what the problem of Achos Kukaso is. That just because the two women are at bat to the two brothers, the two sisters, are at the plate for the two brothers at once, why is that a problem? So says the Gemara, Rabbi Zir said, Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, any of that, I just read that. No, alright, no I didn't. Rabbi Zir, Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, any of that time achas mine, I don't know what the sister problem with the sisters. Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said, any of that time achas Yevamos mahe. Now I know why two sisters who somehow, one is his wife and one is, I know why your three wife sisters also to you. I don't know in this case of Achos Kukoso, why it should be also to you. In other words, they're basically questioning why the Mishnah is the way the Mishnah is. So Rabbi Yila b'shem Rabbi Yasser Shem Yoel said, Lo yidoyme Isser Achios Yevamos, Lisa Achos She'ena Yevamos. So it says, I'll tell you. Although this is the Rabbanan Achos Kukoso, and Rabbanan were more machmir in their Isser more than the Raisa. In other words, if your own wife's sister, your wife dies, you're allowed to marry her, the wife's sister. But if it's Achos Kukoso, it's only this is the Rabbanan. So they have to be very careful in order to upheld the Isser the Rabbanan. So therefore, even if one of the sisters dies, you still can't marry the other sister. Okay? You can't marry Achos Kukoso ever. You can't do even with them ever. So it's forever. So it says, that's one way of learning it. Rabbi Yirmiyah gave another way of learning it. And this is a cool Rabbi Yirmiyah type case. Our Mishnah, which is saying Achos Kukoso Zaser, is only if the two husbands of the two sisters were in the same house, and the house found both of them, and they died simultaneously. Because then the two sisters come together as if they're bonded as being Kuko at once. And therefore you remain Asher on all of them forever. Because when they fell before you in a way which you couldn't do evil on both, therefore they're both forbidden. Now, of course, it's still only this is the Rabbanan, not this is the Raisa. They still require Chalitza. But nevertheless, that's why they remain forbidden to you, right? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi asks, Im b'shenova abayish ashnein ka'achas. It's talking about where the house fell, both of them at once. B'dorma Rabbi Yochanan any of that tam achis Yevamos ma'u. Rabbi Yochanan wasn't a big enough lamb than Rabbi Yirmiyah to figure out your case that where it's the house fell, both of them at once. Of course, in that case, Rabbi Yochanan knew that why Rabbanan made it Zera that you couldn't marry either one of them. Rather, the question was, Rabbi Yochanan obviously understood our Mishnah that he can't marry either of them, even if the one fell to you in succession after the other one. So they never came bonded before you. That's nevertheless also. And in that case, Rabbi Yochanan is asking, actually, the Gemara pauses here. Matzich Rabbi Yochanan, what is Rabbi Yochanan asking? Rabbi Yochanan is asking was, in this case of the two sisters, right, who fell before two brothers. He's asking, since they died in succession, I understand as long as they're both alive, you can't do Yibum on either one, because of the Yisra Rabbanan B'Achos Kukoso. But let's say we managed to assassinate the second sister, the one who fell second. So all you have left is the first sister. There's a period when she was mutter beforehand, right? Before the second husband, the second brother died. So why can't she revert back to her mutter status? And one of the brothers will do Yibum on her, right? That's the only thing Rabbi Yochanan was asking, however. But even Rabbi Yochanan understood, the Gemara posits, that if it's the first one who died, the second one remains us. Why? Because by the time the second brother died, there was already one skuka. The second sister started off her career as a skuka in a state of achos kukaso. So therefore, even if the original sister dies, the second sister who survives remains always in a state of achos kukaso, because she never had a shas aheter. She never had a permissible point before it. Says more Amar Rabbi he No, his question on both sides. He doesn't understand. Maybe while both are alive, he can understand. But with both, if one dies, no matter which one, he does not understand why the other one should not be permitted. The lay Zika klum. His question is, Zika, it should not be sufficient reason, at least if one of them is dead, to prohibit the other one from doing Yibum. Even if they're both alive, maybe Rabbi Yochanan holds that they should both be able to do Yibum. But certainly if one is dead, the other one should be able to do Yibum, no matter which one died. And it says, Rabbi Yochanan, I'll prove to you Zika is meaningless. Right? And here we get back, and we're going to go to it more in the next tomorrow night, to Lumdus, which we mentioned in the first parak. What is Zika? Rabbi Yochanan holds Chalitza is a Kenyan. Meaning Rabbi Yochanan holds Zika is garnished. It's nothing. And he proves to us that Zika is nothing. How does he prove that Zika is nothing? Ilu shlosh achim. You got 3 brothers. Here's the case. Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Right? Now, it's actually a complicated case. Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Reuven and Shimon are brothers by the father. Shimon and Levi are brothers by the mother. So Levi and Reuven are not related to each other, right? They are half brothers by the father, half brothers by the mother. They're not related to each other. Dinah is married to Reuven. Dinah dies. No, not Dinah. Reuven does. Shimon should do Yibum. But before Chalitza, before he does Yibum Chalitza, he dies. Can Levi marry Dinah? Right. But if the old Zika is significant, Levi would be also to marry Dinah. Why is that? Levi can marry Dinah. That's Rabbi Yochanan's proof. Because if Zika was significant, then Levi should be also to marry Dinah. Why is that? Because then what should Levi be vis-a-vis Dinah? If Zika is significant, what should Levi be vis-a-vis Dinah? A brother-in-law. Because she was kuka to Shimon at one point. You're right, that's the size of Rabbi Yochanan's point. Zika is klum. If Zika was something, then Levi should be also to marry Dinah, because at one point they were brother and sister-in-law, right? Because Shimon was his kuka, or Dinah was kuka to Shimon. So what? That's worse, because you're not allowed to marry. You're never allowed to marry your half brother through your mother's wife. Your half brother to your father is allowed to marry in the context of evil, but never your half brother to your mother. So if Zika was something, says Rabbi Yochanan, then Levi should be also to marry Dinah. If Levi is not also to marry Dinah, as we know he's not, so that means Zika is nothing. Okay? So it says the Gemara again, Ilu shlosh achim has 3 brothers. Shnayim yav, 2 are from the father, v'lo me'em, and not from the mother. V'shnayim me'em, and 2 from the mother, v'lo me'av, and not from the father. Meit b'no shelav tchila. So Reuven dies first. See why you need this book? Have this book. Take an hour to figure out this case, right? So Reuven dies, right? Meit b'no shelav tchila, the son of the father. V'lo yisbik hasheni lachlit, and Shimon didn't get married to Chalitza or Liyavim ad shemeis until he dies. And he falls before, now Dinah falls. She doesn't literally fall, but Levi wants to marry Dinah. Shemeno muterbo. You think he's not permitted to marry her? Of course he's permitted to marry her. In Maimor, it should be in Taimar. If you're going to say that Zika is klum, that Zika is significant, yes, so it should be also because of his brother's wife. Obviously, it's not his brother's wife, because Zika is lav klum. So again, I don't understand this. Since Zika is meaningless, so I understand why, just because one woman's kuka to you, her sister should be also to you as well. Don't understand it. Okay, so it says, Ma'ushiet Lord Sarah. There's another interesting case. You have Rachel and Leah were a brother and sister, 2 sisters, right? Leah married Reuven and Rachel married Shimon. Each one had a co-wife, right? There's a third brother, Levi. Reuven and Shimon both died. Now all 4 wives are zakuk to Levi, right? So in this case, our Dina and Tom are also to Levi as well. Achos Kukasa, that Rachel and Leah are also to Levi, is the Rabbanan. When you have two women who are simultaneously Shayach to Zika, so they're both also, that's the concept of Achos Kukasa. If the Rabbanan make the Rissa so severe, that not only are Rachel and Leah also, but Dina and Tom are also as well. Ma'al She'el Tzara. Rabbi Yerushalmi Yevamos said, Kal v'chomer. Yeah, it's Kal v'chomer. In the Rabbanans. Ma'im achas chulutzaso. If you are willing to do midud chalitza, kshe'em edivrayim, it's this is the her sister is also to your Rabbanan. Nasul chachamim tzara. Chachamim said that the co-wife of your chalutza's sister is also to you, because if you did chalitza to a woman, her and she has a sister, her co-wife is also. Afkan sheyesh isur achayos lo koshkein. Here, where there's that Marasayan issue of the two sisters simultaneously falling before you, even though really it's only isn't the Rabbanan. So, but since there's that smell, that odor of two sisters, so Kal v'chomer that they answer the tzoros. So Achos Kukaso is such a strong Rabbanan that they even answer the tzoros as well. And in this case, nobody's allowed to marry Levi, not the two sisters who are Achos Kukaso, nor even the co-wives of Achos Kukaso. Kal v'chomer, a case where there isn't two sisters simultaneously, where the sister of your chalutza's co-wife is also to you as well. Okay, we'll stop here for this evening, and tomorrow we continue with even more Lam Mishra Gemara. It's a similar thing when the Goraim goes away. It's called, where's that lingo from? The Bible Yevamos? I don't remember where that's from. Yeah, so it's the same idea. That's right.